The Backward Swimming Merrmien. By L.B. McGrimm. Heart was an underwater realm. Great currents of divine intuition pushed worlds in orbital patterns through the vast marine expanse. The faces of the worlds bore twisting reefs and jutting weed forests like green trees, gently swaying in the warm currents. White light from schools of lighting fish glimmered on the forest's ruin and shipwreck-strewn, white sandy floors. A convoy of ethos ships silently passed in a line that wove through ruins and swaying greenery. The ships had round, thick, steel hulls, like blimps in the salty expanse, trailing plumes of bubbles that spilled from their chimneys. A creature propped herself up with gentle, green hands to peek through the dark round porthole of an old wrecked hull half buried in the sand. Scales spotting her green skin glittered in the shadow. Her long, brown hair hung loosely atop her head, shoulders, and the sides of her curvy face. The wonder in her eyes glowed like the lamp lights marking each passing vessel. "Hey, Aneska," bellowed a creature behind her. Aneska spun to find the globe-like eye of a whale peering through a hole in the corroded steel hull. "Oh, good morning, Adeline," Aneska said. "How'd you find me? You always watch the convoys pass through. You know me too well. What is it about those ships you find so interesting? They're fast. They taste like adventure. They can go to any realm they want." "If only we could do that," Adeline said, mournfully. "We can." "No, we can't. You know your father would destroy whole realms to find you if you disappeared. You'd never be able to swim in another ocean again." Aneska knew her father was powerful, but he couldn't destroy every perspective realm in mind's infinite expanses. At least she didn't think he could. "I want to leave," Aneska said, turning to look back at the ships floating along. "My place is out there. Not here." "Why?" said Adeline. "Our own realm is so vast and so deep. Nobody has ever been to the surface. I've been from one end of this realm to the other so many times I'm bored with it. Aren't you the least bit curious about what else is out there?" Adeline's eye rolled into the upper reaches of its socket while she thought. "No," Adeline moaned. "Divine intuition is a powerful gift you Merrmiens have, but you'd better learn to control it before it controls you." Aneska grew tired of the conversation. "By the way," Adeline said, "isn't the ball starting right now? You're going to be late." "I'm not going to the ball." "Like hell's you're not. I know you don't think you fit in, but you should show up at least." "Why?" "You know why. Go and be one of your people. It won't be that bad." "I know. But still. I wouldn't want to piss off your dad again if I was you." Aneska watched longingly as the end of the convoy passed out of sight in the darkness of the sea beyond. "You're right," Aneska said. "Never heard you admit that before. I'll play along for the time being, until I ship out of here. Otherwise, they could make my life a lot harder than it already is. I'll see you there." Aneska flapped her fin like a green silk banner and pushed through the broken round porthole. Her hair flowed behind her like a brown cape as she swam across the watery expanse, passing over sandbars, through schools of fish and jagged reefs. Schools of sea creatures congregated as she neared the castle, flashing and whipping like silvery clouds. Aneska glided over a dune and Castle Atlantis was revealed, appearing like spikes of glimmering, white coral reaching through the sea. The castle had light glowing up through its towers, and looming over the castle was the king of the realm. He bore the likeness of a gargantuan kraken wearing a crown of reef spikes. He stirred the white cloud overhead with his trident, thick, long and golden in his tentacle grasp. Countless Merrmien brothers swam inside the cloud between passing trident spikes releasing their seed, and countless Merrmien sisters swam through the cloud between passing trident spikes dropping eggs. Their eggs fell slowly through the water like orange and red pearls. The eggs drifted between the castle's jutting coral turrets to the court floor below, where they were collected by hosts of tin creatures that carried them away. Multitudes of creatures gathered around the castle to see the show. Aneska hid behind an oversized crabster. The king declared the ceremony ended some time later, and all his subjects cheered in applause, welcoming the new generation of Merrmiens, the leaders of the oceanic realms. Aneska swam through the departing crowd of creatures crawling and swimming back to their homes, and passed through the light flowing through the castle gate. Lighting fish swam in circles like chandeliers, sending light through the great hall that glimmered on white coral walls and floors. There were groups of Merrmiens feasting at long tables adorned with victuals of krill, small fish, and seaweed. The water tasted like ocean roses. "Where have you been?" said a Merrmien with red scales. "None of your business," Aneska said. "You weren't at the spawning ceremony." "Yeah." The red sister swam up and placed her hand on Aneska's belly. "You're full," the sister said. "Why would you not lay your eggs? Dad will hear about this." Aneska tossed the sister's hand away from her belly. "Aneska," said a mighty voice above her. "Mother," Aneska said. The queen descended from the castle's upper reaches, her blue scales shimmering. She tripled all other Merrmiens in size and wore a small coral crown. She had shells and flowers adorning her hair and strings of pearls around her neck. "Why didn't you lay your eggs today, daughter?" "Because I didn't want to." "What?" "I don't want to be stuck in the palace for the next 30 years raising fingerlings." "That is not your choice to make, child." "Why not?" 4 billion Merrmiens living in this realm, and you're the only one who didn't participate in the spawning ceremony. I haven't been a child for a long time. This is my life. I can make my own decisions. Well, your life is always going to be a struggle if you don't stop swimming backwards against your father's current. Don't you want to please him?" "No," she said. The queen gazed at Aneska as though she was looking right through her. "If you don't want to be one of your people, what do you want to be?" "I want to be a wayfarer and explore mind's infinite expanses." A burst of laughter filled the castle court. "That's ridiculous," they said. "Why would you want that?" they said. "We have everything we need right here," they said. "It's dangerous out there," they said. On they laughed. Aneska felt her stomach sink into her lower regions. Panic filled her mind. A lump took shape in her throat. She swam, shooting out the castle gate with all the power in her tail. The king finished stirring the spawning pool with his trident as the last egg drifted down to the castle floor. He stuck the weapon into the sand between 2 coral towers, its spears pointing into the sea's dark reaches. He slumped down between the towers of his castle, sliding into the under recesses to his chamber underneath. The chamber was carved into a round, coral bowl. Schools of lighting fish shot through his chamber like flickering candles. He placed his enormous eye over his window and glanced out into the surrounding forest. Tin creatures came to his service through overhead balconies. "Reveal my orbiculum," he said, his mighty voice shaking the coral walls. The king watched with his other eye as several tin creatures walked over to a table draped in a cloth on one of the balconies. They pulled the cloth, unveiling the orbiculum, a crystal ball surrounded by mist and light that took the shape of a witch. She had the look of a black Merrmien, but haggard, old and corrupted by disease. Barnacles grew like bones jutting out of her flesh. She had long locks of stringy hair and tentacles in place of fins, like an octopod. "There's another convoy making way through the Kosmis Pass," the witch said, barely louder than a whisper. "En route to the realm of Breather. Would you have me kill and deliver to you every wayfarer that passes through my realm?" the king said. "You ask too much, and consume beyond the needs of a Goliathan. I would not have you kill everyone, but your daughter will pick up with this lot and leave the realm never to return if you don't stop them. Her departure will mark the beginning of an exodus, as your people will follow her example, leaving you old and alone. You'll lose everything." Aneska. Yes. That be her name. The king's tentacles flailed as anger stirred in his gut. That's why she defies me. Why she refused to lay her eggs this afternoon. To take up with a band of trespassers. Kill the wayfarers in the convoy and be done with the foolish ambitions of young minds, said the witch. The misty apparition turned to look into the eyes of the king, revealing hollow, black sockets. She lifted her lips into a toothless, black grin. "And mind my fee. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." Aneska found Adeline in the forest. "My intuition was warning me," Aneska said. "They don't understand, but I had to tell them something. You might want to stay away for a while. They could still force you to lay your eggs." A moment passed. Adeline gazed at her friend's baleful, whale eye. "What?" Aneska said. "All in all, I'm surprised at you." "Why?" "I never thought you would stand up to them. I felt like I had no choice. Besides, the next convoy will be moving through the Kosmis Pass soon. I'll be able to leave this realm for good." "You haven't heard." "Heard what?" "Your father just mobilized the armada. They're swimming to attack that convoy." Aneska flicked her tail, darting through the water across the sandbar. "Where are you going?" Adeline said. "Everyone knows who is responsible for Dad's hatred of foreigners. I have to stop this. But it's forbidden." Adeline squealed, barely audible from the distance Aneska had already put between them. Aneska swam south. The sandbar passed beneath her like a blur as she shot toward the dark side of the reef where no lighting fish schooled. She entered the cross-current, drawing her in like the slippery rocks lining a riverbed. Letting the current pull her, she rose high above the reef world like a bird soaring to godly heights and speed, darting up and away to a nearby moon with a pitch-black face. Aneska flapped her tail, pushing out of the flowing current. The water was cold as glacial melt. She squinted, trying to see through the murk, but to no avail. She swam close to the sandbar, letting her feelings guide her path. She could feel weeds brush over her fins, stomach, and arms like clammy hands as she swam forward apprehensively. There was a faint light in the distance. She followed it until she was close enough to see a lighting fish, lost, sickly and near death, his light flickering just enough for her to discern her surroundings. All around were wavering, brown weeds, 3 cubits tall, but they were not weeds. They were wretched creatures that were rooted to the black sandbar strewn with old wayfarer masks. Their faces were shrouded in suffering, sickness, and decay. "Help!" they moaned as she swam by, like the grief-stricken cries emanating through a crowded funeral. "Kill me! Help! Kill me!" Aneska was paralyzed with horror. The light faded to darkness as the lighting fish died and the moaning subsided. She brushed the hands from her tail fin, closed her eyes, caught her breath, calmed her nerves, then swam forward. The terror surging through her mind empowered her divine intuition. She soon found the witch's abode, a weed-strewn pile of rocks amid the garden of suffering. "Hello?" she said as she passed through a gap in the rocks. "Come in, Aneska," croaked the witch in front of a cauldron. "How do you know who I am?" Aneska recoiled as the witch turned to look at her with empty, black eye sockets. Everyone knows who a princess is. What did you do to those poor things out there? My garden. Everyone has to eat, princess. Even me, old as I am. Aneska recoiled, thinking of the old thing shoving those miserable creatures into her toothless, black maw. What do you want? Said the witch. I need you to stop this invasion you've sent my father on. The witch's black tentacles groped the sandy floor around her, like elongated eels sniffing for food. No, said the witch. If you know I'm a princess, you know my father and what he's capable of. He'll destroy you if I convince him to do so. The witch coughed a sputter Aneska guessed was her way of laughing. Nice try, but you know your threats are of no use here. Your proximity to power doesn't make you powerful yourself. I had your father's ear long before he was ever king of a realm. Aneska's intuition pinged in her mind. There was no lie or bluff in the witch's words. What do you want? Aneska said. What can I give you to make you stop this? Nothing. I won't stop the battle. Well, if you won't stop the battle, at least tell me where it will be. The witch grinned menacingly. It'll cost you. I'll give you whatever you want. It'll cost you a great deal. What do you want? I can show you a vision of the truth, the cost of which is your eyes. You want my eyes? But I need them. I'll never be able to be a wayfarer if I can't see. This is the cost. Aneska took a moment to think, but there was nothing for it. She needed to get to the convoy to save the wayfarers, save her people, and also to save herself before it was too late. There would be little chance of any convoys making way through the realm if her father didn't stop attacking them. She would have to stop these senseless battles if there was any hope of ever leaving. She could deal with getting her eyes back later, maybe. Fine, Aneska said. Take them. Green light flared within the cauldron. The witch tossed in a handful of shells and fish bones. Then she cut her arm, allowing her blood to flow like a vein through the water and into the green light. Aneska saw a flash. Her vision was taken to a place she recognized as Gilder's Gulch, a narrow ravine running through the Coastmist Pass. Then everything went dark. See it you have, but I'm afraid you'll never reach it in time, the witch laughed, as Aneska felt her way out. Aneska swam for Gilder's Gulch, 3 worlds away, as fast as she could move without her eyes. She had little trouble making her way over the garden of half-dead things without her vision as a hindrance, and arrived a few talks later. I'm too late, she uttered to herself as the taste of blood filled her mouth. She could feel the chaos of her people in the water before her and hear the screams of battle as Merrmiens passed through holes blasted into their hulls, ripping masked creatures apart with their pikes and tridents. She could feel the darkness, fear, and panic of death all around as creatures fought hard, slicing and stabbing with their fire swords. Wayfarers died and Merrmiens dissipated into sea foam when death befell them. The chaos slowed to a standstill, and Aneska could feel Merrmien men hauling nearly dead or unconscious wayfarers off into the direction of the witch's gardens. A wayfarer floated unconscious down to the sandy bottom where Aneska was hiding. She seized the opportunity, grabbing him under his arms and pulling him away. He was heavy and it took some time for her to get him to safety, having to stop and hide when schools of Merrmiens swam back to the palace. She is inside a temple ruin bearing the look of a statue carved into the likeness of a Quallen head, a furry creature with round ears, a big nose, and a contented smile. The statue's right eye was an open window. Mounted on the walls inside were wayfarer masks of all sorts made of wood, metal, porcelain, glass, and crystal. "Where am I?" said the wayfarer as he woke and scrambled up against the stone wall. "You're safe," said Ineska, averting her empty eyes from where she'd heard his voice. "This is my home." "Who are you?" "My name is Ineska. I don't know what happened. I was at the helm of my ship and they just came out of nowhere, thousands of them. I'm so sorry for your loss. I hope you can find it within yourself to forgive my people. They're under the control of a witch, you see. So the rumors are true. Why doesn't someone kill the witch and end these senseless conflicts? She is under the king's protection. Why? He thinks he needs her insights, and he eats anyone who questions his authority. You're one of them, aren't you?" "I am one of my kind, yes," she said heavily. "But not one of them. How can I trust you?" Ineska turned her gaze towards the sound of the wayfarer's frightened voice, her empty eyes revealing her handicap. "You're blind," he said. "How could you keep me safe when you can't even see?" "I told you you're safe," she said. "There are more ways than vision with which to get around. How do you think I brought you here?" A shadow passed over Ineska's flower garden outside, darkening her window. "Daughter," she heard, a voice like splintering mountains. "I know you're harboring the enemy. You cannot hide him." "What makes you think that, Dad?" she said as though he was standing right next to her. "I know everything that passes through my tides. Show yourself. Bring him forward." "I will not." Several male mermen swam through Ineska's window, seized the wayfarer, yanked him out onto the sandbar and forced him to his knees. The wayfarer looked up at the gargantuan king before him. "King Neptune," the wayfarer uttered. "Stop, Dad!" Ineska shouted, swimming frantically out her window. "Don't hurt him. This isn't right." "What's this?" said the king, looming like a mountain, his long tentacle cutting through the water and pointing at her face. "What happened? Where are your eyes?" "The witch took them. I told you to stay away from the witch's moon." The Merrmien men looked at their sister with faces shrouded in alarm. "I'm sorry, Dad, but I had to do something. You cannot just kill anyone you wish. You're an Asgardian, not a dragon, and not an orc. You're a child," boomed the king with earthquaking fury. "You know nothing of what I am. I'm 56 years old. You're my father, and I know you very well." "Sentries," said the king. "There is a creature here who does not belong. Kill it." Two Merrmien men held the wayfarer down as a third swam before him, gripping his trident with both hands. "No!" Ineska shouted, darting forward. The Merrmien sentry thrust his trident, spearing flesh as Ineska shot between them. She was pierced by the weapon and foam from 3 wounds whitened the water around them. "Fools!" boomed the king. "You murdered your sister." Ineska went pale and turned into foam that dispersed into nothingness. The last thing she would ever feel as a Merrmien maid was a sense of terror and pain, followed by her body, sensations, thoughts, and feelings, melting warmly with the foam that dissipated in the ocean deep. She was freed from a cage of flesh. The water realm gave way to mist and took the shape of a thoroughfare all around her. Her awareness shot through the tunnel for a time until 2 creatures actualized and flew by her side. The creatures were black crows she had seen when she'd passed on in the depths of past lives. The misty thoroughfare took on the shape of a different realm millennia later, revealing the sunny day of a realm she had seen many times. It was the realm of hatching thought where her spirit was made. Every memory from every life came to her like the unfinished canvas of a masterpiece. She would live there in the realm of hatching thought for 1,000 years until she grew idle, and met with a stork who agreed to escort her to a new realm. She was reborn in the realm of Alamind as a dolphin, where she would live in bliss for 55,000 years. The beautiful Merrmien had saved his life as she'd promised. The horde of wrathful sea creatures and the Asgardian looming before him scrambled and disappeared, leaving him alone on the ocean floor, lost and disoriented. Near a fortnight passed by his guessing as he walked the sandbar starving and thirsty, passing through the forest and asking directions from creatures he met along the way. He eventually found the Kosmis Pass, where he'd been traveling when his ship was raided. A convoy passed through and he hailed a ship, boarded, and told the crew about everything that had happened. "Are we in danger?" asked the skipper, draping a wool blanket over his shoulders. "Should we inform the Armada when we reach the realm of Kosmis?" "No," replied the still soaking wet wayfarer, sipping hot coffee through the mouth hole in his mask. "Your ship and the convoy that follows it is safe as long as I am aboard, but I fear for future wayfarers. No ship will ever be truly safe as long as a witch holds influence over King Neptune."
Stories left unread. Please consider subscribing.